Lyrael Moonwhisper's hands were traced with silver veins like rivers of starlight mapping across dark earth, each one a melody of sun-soaked groves and frost-crusted fields, of blight and bloom. At 101 years old, in mortal years in the way of her people, who counted time by the turning of the great oak's rings, she was still in her prime. She was the last seed singer of the Whisperwood. She'd spent the morning at her workbench, where sunbeams slanted through woven branches to touch rows of silk-wrapped pouches. Each one she'd stitched herself, using thread spun from moon-moth cocoons and bound with verses that told of lineage and strength. Sun-kissed knotgrass for fevers that burned like coals, drought dancer millet that could drink life from dust, rainweaver beans that called storms when the earth was dry. Outside her cottage, the Whisperwood was quiet, too quiet. The young had fled years ago to the glass spires of Ethermore, drawn by promises of glittering arcane tools that could grow food in crystal chambers, no dirt required. She still remembered the day her own son, Kalen, had packed his bags. "We have nutrient gems now, Mother," he'd said, pushing her offered pouch of storm-hardy nightbloom back into her hands. They'd chuckled, the other young folk gathered at his side, their clothes already woven with the shimmer of city magic. Why waste your power on roots and soil when we can create abundance from light itself? She'd held her tongue then, but now as she ran her fingers over the runes on each pouch, she could feel the wood grieving. The ancient trees that once sang back her seed songs had fallen quiet. The soil, which had once warmed to her touch, felt cold and heavy. Even the moon moths that spun her thread were growing scarce. That evening, as she stirred a thin stew of preserved roots over her hearth, she felt it a shiver in the magic that tied all living things together. It started in the depths of the earth, a bitter cold that crept up through her silver veins until her hands ached. Through the window, she saw a shadow spread across the sky, not cloud or night, but something grey and brittle that ate at the light. The great blight had come. For 3 cycles, the blight spread across every realm like a slow poison. In the glass spires of Ethermore, the crystal chambers that had promised endless harvests turned grey and cracked. The arcane tools sputtered and died, their magic turning sour. The nutrient gems lost their warm glow, crumbling to dust in trembling fingers. Families huddled in cold high towers, their bellies hollow, their city magic failing them. Lyrael watched from her cottage as the blight crept closer to the Whisperwood. It withered the undergrowth first, then turned the leaves of young trees black. But when it reached the ancient grove where she'd planted her strongest seeds, it hesitated, held back by the old magic woven deep into the soil. One night, as she was singing to her remaining plants to strengthen their roots, a shimmering arcane message danced above her moonstone hearth. It flickered and wavered like a candle in wind, but she'd know that face anywhere. Grandmother Lyrael. Elowen's voice was thin with strain, tears like liquid starlight tracing paths down her cheeks. Her hands were held up to the message empty, save for a fine layer of grey dust. "The spires have nothing left, we've tried everything. Her magic won't grow so much as a blade of grass. We are hungry and we don't know what to do." Lyrael felt a weight settle in her chest, not anger, but a deep, aching sadness for all they'd lost by turning their backs on the earth. She walked to her hollow oak storage chest, its wood warm with the magic she'd poured into it over decades. Inside, the silk pouches lay as still as sleeping birds, each marked with runes that sang if you listened closely enough. She ran her fingers over them, feeling their strength, their memory, their stubborn will to live. She didn't choose the strongest or the rarest, she chose storm-hardy nightbloom, woven with magic from the year the skyfires had scorched the earth for a full season. She remembered planting those seeds herself, as a young woman, singing to them through the worst of the flames. "Elowen," she said, holding the pouch to the glowing message. The seed's warmth pushed back the grey that was creeping into the hearthlight. "This seed has danced through darker days than this. It didn't survive by being easy or quick. It survived because it learned to hold fast to life, even when the world seemed determined to burn it away. For the next 7 days and 7 nights, she wove her magic into visions her silver-veined hands, showing how to prepare the soil with patience, how to plant in harmony with the moon's phases, how to pull new verses from the strongest plants to pass on their power. She showed them how to listen to the earth, how to feel what it needed, how to give back as much as they took. Elowen shared the visions across the realmways, and slowly a spark of change began to grow. First, it was her neighbours in Ethermore. who'd dug small gardens in the cracked earth of their tower courtyards. Then clans from the Desert of Whispers, who'd forgotten their own seed songs generations ago. Then farmers from the Frost Marches, who'd lost their fields to creeping shadow blight and were desperate for hope. Messages flowed back like a river of light, each one carrying a little warmth. Your song seeds grew where all else withered. We ate greens for the first time in weeks. My little ones helped plant them, and they laughed as they watched them sprout. They've forgotten what laughter felt like. We are learning the seed songs now too, writing them down so we never lose them again. But the struggle was far from over. The blight still held most of the realms in its grip, and every sprout that pushed through the grey earth was a small battle won against despair. A year later, in mortal time but in magic's rhythm, where growth and change moved to their own beat, it was but a breath, Lyrael stood in her ancient grove. The blight had pulled back from the Whisperwood now, held at bay by the growing magic of thousands of hands working with the earth instead of against it. And she was not alone. Young folk had come back not just from the glass spires, but from every corner of the realms, their pockets heavy with seeds and their hearts full of purpose. Caelan was among them, his city finery replaced by simple clothes stained with good, rich dirt. He walked to her side, his eyes bright with tears he didn't try to hide. "Mother," he said, holding out a small silk pouch, "I'm sorry. We thought we were moving forward, but we were just turning our backs on what keeps us alive." Inside his pouch was a new seed, small, dark and glowing with a soft light. "We grew it in the spires," he said. "From a single night bloom you sent. We called it tower root. It grows even in the cracks between stones, and it feeds more than just the body." One by one, others stepped forward with their gifts. Tide-woven rice from the Pearl Kingdoms, which could clean poisoned water as it grew. Ash-blessed corn from the Cinderlands, which turned old scars in the earth into fertile ground. Starfall wheat from the Sky Isles, which glowed softly in the dark to light cold homes. Raincaller melons from the plains of Echo, which brought gentle showers to parched land. They began to plant, each person singing their own version of the seed songs, old verses mixed with new words, new hopes, new understanding. Lyrael walked among them, her silver hands touching each mound of earth, adding her magic to theirs. The grove filled with sound, not just singing, but laughter, conversation, the rustle of soil and the whisper of life pushing upward. As the last seed was planted, Elowen stepped forward, holding a silk pouch that glowed with light so warm it felt like sunshine on skin. "We've named this one Lyrael's Harmony," she said, her voice clear and strong. "We grew it from seeds gathered from every realm that answered your call. It grows in any earth rock or sand or dust. It feeds whole villages. And every time you sing its seed song, you pass on the promise that we can reshape the realms, not by leaving our roots behind, but by weaving them together across worlds and generations." Lyrael took the pouch, feeling its power hum through her veins, old magic and new, earth and sky, past and future. She looked out at the growing garden, at faces young and old working side by side, and she knew the Whisperwood would never be silent again. The seed songs were home. 3 months passed, and the garden spread like green fingers across the grey lands, but the blight's core still held strong in the withered lands, a vast stretch of dead earth between the realms where even the new song seeds refused to grow. Elowen had been training with Lyrael every day, her hands already showing faint silver lines as the magic awakened within her. But try as she might, she couldn't feel the earth the way her grandmother could. "I'm trying," she said one evening, dropping to her knees beside a patch of stubborn soil. "I sing the songs, I do everything you teach me, but it's like the earth doesn't hear me." Lyrael sat beside her, wrapping a warm cloak around Elowen's shoulders. "The magic doesn't come from trying hard, little star. It comes from listening. The blight isn't just killing the land, it's feeding on fear, on our belief that we're separate from what we grow." That night, a messenger arrived from the Cinderlands, his clothes singed, his face pale with urgency. "It's spreading again," he gasped, collapsing in the cottage doorway. "The blight is moving faster now, and it's different. It's learned from us. It's wrapping itself around our new gardens, draining them dry." The council of new seed singers gathered at dawn, Caelan from Ethermore, Sora from the Pearl Kingdoms, Torvin from the Frost Marches, and others from every realm that had joined their cause. "We need to strike at its heart," Torvin said, his voice heavy with determination. If we can heal the withered lands, we can break the Blight's hold forever. But Lyrael shook her head. We can't fight it with force. The Blight was born when we tried to dominate the earth instead of working with it. To heal it, we must give something back. Elowen stood suddenly, her eyes bright with realization. Our memories, she said. The Blight feeds on forgetting. What if we give it our stories, all the ways the earth has sustained us, all the times we've survived together? It was a dangerous plan. To share their memories with the Blight would mean opening themselves to its bitterness, risking being consumed by despair. But as they looked out at the young plants beginning to wilt at the edges of their garden, they knew there was no other way. On the morning of the full moon, they set out for the withered land Lyrael, Elowen, Caelan, and 100 seed singers from every realm, each carrying a pouch of their most precious seeds and a heart full of memories. The journey was hard. The air grew thin and cold, the ground cracked and grey under their feet. No plants grew here, no birds sang. Even the magic in their veins felt muted, as if the Blight was trying to silence them before they could reach its core. At the centre of the withered lands stood a great dead tree, its branches reaching up like twisted fingers. From its roots spread a darkness that seemed to drink the light from the sky. This was where the Blight had begun. Lyrael led them in a circle around the tree, and they began to sing not the seed songs of growth, but songs of memory and gratitude. Each seed singer took a turn, sharing their story with the earth. Sora spoke of how tide-woven rice had saved her people from a plague of poisoned water, how every grain carried the memory of the ocean's kindness. Torvin told of how starfall wheat had kept his family alive through a winter that lasted a full year, how its light had chased away the darkness in their hearts. Caelan shared his shame and his hope, how Towerroot had taught him that strength wasn't about being above the earth, but about being rooted in it. As they sang, Elowen felt the magic waking in her more deeply than ever before. She stepped forward and placed her pouch of Lyrael's harmony at the base of the dead tree. I never knew my home until I learned to listen, she sang, her voice clear and strong. I never knew my strength until I learned to grow with others. This seed carries all our stories, may it teach the earth to remember how to live again. Lyrael joined her, placing her hands on the dead wood. Silver light spread from her veins into the tree, and slowly, carefully, she began to sing the oldest seed song of all, the one that told of how the first life had sprung from nothing but patience and hope. One by one, the other seed singers placed their seeds at the tree's roots, adding their magic to Lyrael's and Elowen's. The darkness began to recede, not from force, but from warmth from the simple power of shared memory and gratitude. As the last note faded, a tiny green shoot pushed through the grey earth at the tree's base. Then another and another. The dead branches began to soften, their grey bark giving way to new growth. The ground beneath their feet warmed, and the air filled with the scent of rain and life. The Blight was not destroyed, it was transformed. Its bitterness turned to wisdom, its hunger to nourishment. When they returned to the Whisperwood, they found that the gardens had grown even while they were gone. The Lyrael's harmony plants were in full bloom, their flowers glowing with the light of every realm that had contributed to their creation. Elowen's hands now bore silver veins as bright as her grandmother's, and young people from every corner of the world had come to learn the seed songs. Lyrael stood in her grove watching them work and smiled. I was never the last keeper, she said to Elowen, placing a hand on her shoulder. I was just the one who had to remember long enough for others to learn. Together, they began to sing a new song, one that would be passed down for generations, a song of how the world was saved not by great magic or powerful tools, but by ordinary people who remembered how to listen to the earth, how to share their stories, and how to grow together. And everywhere they sang it, life followed.